What is poppin', people? Welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to catch 10 times more fish in any conditions, any time of year. You throw these baits, you throw it the way that I'm talking about, and you guys will catch a lot more fish. Whether you're fishing ponds, whether you're fishing out of the boat at some lakes, whether you're fishing rivers, whether you're kayak fishing some smaller places, neighborhood ponds, big private farm ponds, wherever you're at, all these techniques are gonna work. Today, I'm actually out on the beautiful Ogeechee River, and we're gonna be trying to catch some fish on the ways that I'm talking about. So we're gonna go ahead and hop into this, jump right into it. We're gonna be talking about some of the baits while we're gonna be throwing these, what baits to switch over to if they're not biting a certain bait, and we're gonna hop right into it. So first thing that we're gonna talk about today is first, before we even get into the bait, we got a few baits we're talking about. We're gonna talk about the rod and reel setup. There's one rod and reel in particular that I like just because it's one of the most versatile combos. And what I like is 7 foot to 7'3" medium heavy. You can throw just about anything on it, from a Texas rig all the way to a chatterbait, all the way to a spinner bait, all the way to even a crankbait if you want to do that, like a smaller one, rattle trap, whatever you want to throw. So around a 7 foot to 7'3" medium heavy for your rod. As in the reel, guys, I keep it very basic, like a 7.3 to 1.7, 1-to-1 gear ratio reel. All these people talk about the different gear ratios, but once you've been fishing for a while, you know, you can adjust it with your hand and however you're moving. But the baits that we're throwing today, you're not even gonna have to worry about that. Pound tests, you're gonna want 15 to 17 pound, because you're gonna go out there, you're gonna use your big bass energy, and you're gonna catch those launches. So let's go ahead and talk about the rig that we're going to be throwing. So this is one of the most basic rigs out there, and this is actually a basic Texas rig. I know you guys have probably heard about it, and you guys are probably saying, man, I already know about the Texas rig. I'm going to click off this video, but don't do that yet. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell right next to it. Also, hit the like button if you guys want to see some more tip videos. So let's go ahead and hop into this. So basic Texas rig. Let's go ahead and take this bait right off of here because that's irrelevant for this part. So in my hand, I got a 4/0 EWG hook. These are actually by 6 cents. Any of the stuff that I'm talking about today, if you want a discount on, I will pop the code up on the screen and I'll drop the links down below. But this is a 4/0 EWG hook. These hooks are sharp as can be. As for the weight, I'm using a simple 1/4 ounce, just standard bullet weight. This is a lead weight. Keep it basic, keep it simple. Where's the packaging? I have it somewhere. Right here. Just simple and basic. Out here on the river, I don't want to use tungsten. I use just basic lead weights just because I break off a lot. Or if you catch like a mud fish or something, that's going to snap you off. So that is the basic rig right there. If you guys are wondering about the knot, I tie a uni knot. I know a lot of people out there tie a polymer knot, but I love the uni. I've been tying it for years. I haven't had any problems with it, and it's overall my favorite knot. So that is the rig that we're going to be using. Now let's talk about the baits that we're going to be throwing on. I have 3 specific baits in my hands today that we're going to be talking about. One is called the prawn. This is a crawl style bait. It's more of a beaver style. It's going to be different than the stroker crawl that I have right here. Comparing these 2 baits, let's whip them out of the package. So this right here is actually the prawn by 6 cents. In the last probably 6 videos I've uploaded, I've absolutely killed the fish on it. And this is like a beaver style bait. It's a smaller beaver, and as you guys can tell, you pull these apart right here and it's just got a tiny bit of motion at the end. On the other hand, we got a stroker crawl right here. When you get them out of the package, you're gonna pop them off like that so those legs are free. As you guys can tell by this one, it's got those tails at the end that are gonna be kicking the whole time. That's gonna put off a lot more vibration. A little more subtle, a lot more vibration. So if those fish are a little bit more finicky, like today, last night we actually had a cold front. It went from 80 degrees all the way to a high of 50 today, 30-degree drop. Okay, I'm gonna wanna use something more like this that's a little bit more subtle, that those fish are gonna bite because they're gonna be slower today. Pressure, it was low last night, and now it's just skyrocketed. So those fish are gonna be a little slower. I'm gonna go with the prawn. Fish are a little bit more active. If you're fishing more dirty water, you're gonna wanna go with the stroker crawl. Okay, that's going to put off a little bit more vibration. You'll get a ton of bites on that. But if you don't get bites on a crawl that has, you know, a lot of motion, you want to switch over to something like this that's a little more subtle. The fish will bite it. Now let's talk about if they're not biting either one of these baits, because I've seen it like this where these fish just don't want to eat a crawl. You know, they really want a worm better. So that's when I'll switch over to, this is actually the Clout. This is a stick bait right here. And by the way, this color right here is called dark water bug. This is perfect. It describes itself. It's perfect for dirty water. On one side, it's got a purplish color with some blue flakes. And on the other side, it's black and blue. It's split half and half. This is going to be amazing for a bunch of the ponds that you guys are fishing if you're doing that, because the majority of the ponds out there have dirty water. Therefore, you're going to want to use like a black and blue June bug and a dark color like this. So if you're not getting bites on the crawls, a great option to switch over to is a Senko right here. You're gonna throw it the same way. So let's go ahead and actually rig this up on the rod. Let's use the Senko as an example. Fish aren't biting today. It's super tough. So this is what you're gonna wanna do. You got your EWG hook. You got your stick bait. You're gonna line the stick bait, boom, right there. You're gonna break it through. You're gonna push the bait all the way up on the eyelet of the hook, just like that. And we're gonna wanna rig this weedless, okay? So right here, you're gonna lay your Senko on top of the hook. Where the end of the hook is right there, that's exactly where you're gonna wanna penetrate it. So, boom, we're gonna go in right there. And I'm gonna keep it right below the plastic. And then I'm gonna pull the front end and bury that front of the hook. And look at this, this is perfect. Right there, look at that. This is weedless as it gets right there. And you're not gonna have any problems going through grass if that's what you're fishing. So this bait right here is amazing, but this is only one part of the process. We're gonna have to figure out how the fish want it today. Whether it's us dragging it, whether it's us popping it, whether it's us throwing this thing weightless because there's a lot of grass. And I know a lot of you guys are fishing ponds. You might wanna throw this weightless just because there's so much grass. But we're gonna be throwing this around some cover, around some of these reeds right here. And you know, we're gonna want a weight on there today. But that is the beautiful rig that we're gonna be using. Like I said, tough conditions today, cold front last night. I'm gonna go to a worm. You know, sometimes they'll eat the crawl, but if they're not eating it, you know, we've had a few bites on it today, we're gonna switch to a worm for a more subtle approach. Now let's see how we're gonna throw it.
You think so? We were getting bites though, every once in a while.
Yeah.
There he is.
You got him? Get him, boy. Yeah, Bradley. Oh yeah. Right.
Little guy.
2 seconds on the worm.
On the Senko.
He's on the Senko though, yes sir. So Bradley was throwing the Senko. He was throwing the clout. Caught him a little old bass, nothing big. Right there on the grass though. As you guys can tell, he's tucked up on it, wasn't he?
Tucked right up on it, hit it just like it's supposed to.
Right there. Right there, guys. He's in that little cubby hole. Little things like that you want to pick up on. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, there he is. Oh my gosh. Dude, he's running. Oh my gosh, it's a good one. Oh, oh, Bradley. Yes. Boys, we got us a good one today, man. We got us a good one right here. And we are getting one step closer. Me and Bradley have been talking, and we were going back in the slough for probably 2 miles already. And it's high tide. We're gonna see if we can find them stacked up. We haven't had a bite this whole way. And then boom, just knocked a good one right there. That is a beautiful Ogeechee River bass, fat and healthy. We're gonna keep on fishing. I hooked him. By the time I hooked him, he's already under my boat. That's how strong these fish are out here. That is awesome. Let's keep. We talked about the rig that we're gonna be using. Now I'm gonna talk about a few different ways that you guys can catch more fish on it. This is the important part to where it's gonna make you catch, I promise you, a lot more fish if you're using these tips I'm saying in today's video. So if you look around, there's a bunch of different things. You see these little reeds and stuff all around this weird looking grass. You guys probably don't see that much. We're actually in some brackish water right now. We also have some laydowns right here in this corner. And you know, bass, what they like to do is they hang up on all that stuff. Whether it's wood, whether it's rock, whether it's grass, they like to have their back in all that, okay? So seeing that laydown right there, that fish is gonna be right up on that thing. So if you guys are fishing bank spots, especially, if you guys see anything like that, if you see laydowns, whatever it is, you need to be flipping an old Texas rig in there. Okay, here this is current. As you guys can tell, I have my weight free. If you guys are flipping in some heavy cover, I would suggest putting a bobber stop on top of this so your weight is pegged. Okay, here if you're fishing tidal water, if you're fishing where there's a lot of current, I like to use no peg because it's going to have a lot more motion. It's going to look a lot more natural to that bass. So all right, so we're pulling up in this pocket. You know, we got some grass, got some laydowns, and I want to cast at that tree. You know, I want to see if there's a fish on that tree. So I'm going to get this Texas rig and give it a little cast right up on that tree. Let up on my line out, make sure you're on the bottom. There's gonna be one style that if the fish are super tough, this is what I do all the time. So I just let it sit for a minute. Once I cast out there, I'm gonna reel up my slack, and And I'm gonna slowly drag that thing over those limbs right there. Very slow, okay? Reel up your slack. Slowly drag that thing. And if those fish are really finicky, sometimes that's how they're gonna want it. But then there's gonna be some days that you're gonna cast this bait up on there. Boom, just like that, right up in that tree. And you're just gonna wanna click it and not even move that thing. That's called dead sticking. You know, that is the worst case. If the fish are like, just totally shut off, you can't get a bite, you need to try dead sticking, okay? And then there's gonna be those days where the fish are a little bit more active, you're covering some water, and you're gonna pitch up in that tree. If you're throwing the crawl especially, you're gonna wanna kinda pop it. You know, you're gonna wanna kinda hop it. And those fish are gonna want it better that day. You know, it's just gonna depend. You're gonna have to experiment with dead sticking it, dragging the bait, popping the bait, but make sure you're up on that cover. That's very important because those bass are gonna suck up to that stuff. One very important thing is in a sunny day. That's when those fish are really gonna get up on that. If you have a lot of clouds in the sky, sometimes those fish are gonna be roaming a lot more. But when that sun gets up, those fish are gonna wanna get out of that and they're gonna get push up in those laydowns and a bunch of that cover. So I'm gonna flip this little Senko up on all of this stuff along the bank, and we're gonna also hit some of this grass back in here, and we're gonna see if we catch some fish. I wanna be using some of the techniques that I just talked about, you know, whether it's slow dragging it, whether it's popping it, but today with that cold front, I think it's gonna be a lot slower and we're gonna have to work it very, very slow. We're gonna try that crawl a little bit. If we can't get them on that, we're gonna result over to the Senko, but I've seen so many comments of people saying, man, Noah, there he is. Took my Senko, gone, bro. Gone, bro, look at that. Gone. All right, here's a great example right here. You guys ready? When that happens, I didn't get a hook in him. He just took it. Okay, I'm gonna switch up to this crawl because it's a different presentation. He noticed that worm, okay? Now we're gonna switch right over to this. We're gonna pitch in there and we're gonna see if he'll eat it.
Rig it the same way?
Yeah, rig it the same way, right up on there. We're gonna pull these tails off. There we go, that's perfect. Okay. And this is important. You wanna get back in there really quick. He was right under that tree, guys, right on that cover. See if he'll eat this thing. But you saw how slow I was working that worm, guys. It's important. But he had it, he peeled it right off. But usually when that happens, you can get back in there and catch him. This could be another one of those situations where they just don't want this crawl. You know, they want something a little more slower, like a worm. And, you know, I wanted to put on the crawl because he just saw the worm, you know, maybe switching it up, throwing something a little bit different in there might trigger that fish to bite. But he just did not have it all the way. He was running with it.
What the throw was a 6'6". Anything above that was giant.
Holy cow. Yo. That was a big fish.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was big.
That was a big fish.
You didn't even shake him.
I don't think that was a mudfish. I really don't. I really don't.
Mudfish, they pull hard.
Yeah, frayed, look. It's a fray, that ain't a mudfish. That was a bass. That was a big one, dude. That was a very big fish. That's a great learning lesson right there. And this is something I want everybody to know at all times. You need to always check your line, especially when throwing something like this. You're pitching in all those trees, and you know, when you're going through all that stuff, even when you get hung up, the smallest little things, even when you're catching fish for a while, you always want to check your line and retie. And that is a little mistake that I just made, and I broke off a big fish right there. So we're gonna retie right now and get back in there, catch a big one. Big bass?
Yeah.
A striper. You want me net still? Yeah. How the heck you catch a striper in here? That's a good one. Holy cow. That's
big bass energy, just striped bass.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
Good striper.
That's a fatty. I can't believe you caught him back here. That's insane. On a crawl. On a crawl. I've never seen that before. That's a beautiful striper though. That's seriously a good one.
Oh yeah. What about?
You thought you had a donk, didn't you?
I had a donk. I was like, yes sir.
We're about probably 3 miles back, guys, and I just can't believe you caught a striper back here. That's insane. All right. Was it on the bottom?
Yeah.
Were you reeling it in?
On the bottom.
What? That's wild.
Now I'm done with all you said. All you wanted was my bread. Got me messed